everybody, welcome to Board Online, Board Offline. Today we have finally the Watcher Showdown for Kingdom Death Monster. Now, I've never faced the Watcher. I have actually still have a couple of questions about how certain cards work. Today's just gonna be the setup and kind of show you what I'm coming into the fight with, who I'm using, that sort of thing. Give you an idea of what the Watcher's abilities are. I'm not going through his deck, but kind of the abilities that are already set up for him that I know he's going to be using. And I've got some special abilities that are specific to this fight as well. So we're going to go through all that, and then the second part will be the actual gameplay itself. Now, so again, my point with that was that with the Watcher, there are certain abilities that I have that I'm not exactly sure how they work. I'll research them in between this video and the next one, and we'll discuss that at the beginning of the next video once I figure out exactly what's going on there. Now, I do want to mention our sponsor, Board Game Co. This is a fantastic website where you can buy, sell, and trade games. They have a great selection for you to choose from in terms of games to buy from them. If you're just looking to build your collection out a little bit more, if you're looking to pare down your collection, you can sell games to them, and you can then trade games with them as well. If you're just looking to maybe make a 1-for-1 swap or 2-for-1 or whatever you got, they'll show you. They've got a very clear value system, so you can see, hey, this game and this game will get me these two games over here. They'll link right into your Board Game Geek account and build a trade list based off of what you want and what you are willing to trade and what they have and are willing to trade. So go over to Board Game Co. and check them out. There's a link in the description below. Be sure to click on that so they know I sent you over there. Now, I also do want to mention that Board Online, Board Offline doesn't have a Patreon. We don't do anything like that anymore. Instead, we have just a paypal.me, and if you do think that this video or any of our other work is worth a little bit of a donation, please be sure to click on that and you can help us out in that way. Okay, without anything else, we're going to get right down to the table and I'm going to show you the setup for the Watcher. Alright, so here's our layout for the showdown against the Watcher. Obviously, the Watcher here in the center of the board. Each of my guys are in 4 different spots here. This Acanthus is from the, I have two of my guys here have full Screaming Armor sets, and so the Screaming Armor set includes the Screaming Bracers, which allow each of those 2 people to bring, or not bring, but I guess discover 2 Acanthus plants on the battlefield. And so we have 4 total Acanthus plants. Could end up being very, very helpful during the fight. They've been helpful in a lot of my previous fights. So that's what's going on with those. This priority target token, I always put it next to the guy because if it's underneath him, I forget that he has it. It's been about a month in between my last fight and this one. I can't remember what happened. I think it was something during the settlement phase that caused him to gain the priority target token. I'm not really sure why he has that now, but it is accurate that he is supposed to have that. I just can't remember why, but that will obviously, for the first round of attack from the Watcher, that's going to have an effect. Okay, so right here you'll notice the Watcher's basic AI card. And this information here is already different because it only has level 1, whereas most monsters are level 1, 2, and 3. So already you know we've got something special going on here. Now, he only has 12 basic AI cards, so that's what his deck's going to be made out of. So what, only 13 health? Sounds like it's going to be an easy fight, right? Yeah, we'll see. All right, you see he has infinite movement. And then his toughness has a question mark. All right, things are getting more interesting now. Let's see what all we've got here. So the Watcher has unlimited movement, as we said. And the question mark, the Watcher's toughness is equal to the current Lanternier on the settlement record sheet. Because you see, the reason why it'd be like that is because it is possible for you to challenge the Watcher earlier. Obviously, I don't have any experience with him. I didn't know there'd be a benefit to challenging him earlier. So I am in Lanternier 25 right now. And I believe the earliest I could have, let's see, it was here in Lanyard 20, story event watched. As of that point, I could have challenged him. So he could have been at 20 toughness. Instead, he's at 25 toughness. That is going to be brutal. So let's see. If the settlement has records, the monster gains +2 toughness, which I am pretty sure I don't have that. Again, it's been about a month since I last played. Hopefully it doesn't mean I'm too rusty. Let's see. Innovations. No, I don't have records. All right. You can see I got a lot of innovations. I have 30 innovations, but I never innovated records. That is still down on my innovation deck right there. All right. So here we go. The Watcher starts with 15 life points. Okay, so forget what I said about 12 life for his AI deck. He uses the life trait. And so the way the life trait works is you actually use dice to keep track of his life. So he's at 15 right now. Every time I deal a wound, he goes down. So, you know, he go down to 14 or whatever. And so he's very different in that way. You know, with most monsters, when you wound them, you're taking away from them some of their abilities because the AI deck starts getting whittled down. Not so with the Watcher. All right, his instinct is absorb. Move the Watcher to the center of the showdown board. All survivors gain -1 strength token. The Watcher heals 1d5 wounds. That's crazy. When a monster with life heals, if the monster's current life is less than its starting value, increase the life number by the indicated amount up to the starting value. So he can't heal above 15, but he can still heal all the way back up to 15. And then his basic action. Pick target, further survivor, no target, absorb. So we want to make sure there's got to be, and see, it says further survivor. That's interesting. I wonder how he wouldn't have a target at all, because it doesn't say furthest threat. So I wonder how that's possible. Obviously, there's something here that I'm not seeing yet, but hopefully that means absorb doesn't happen too frequently. I bet he has some AI cards that cause absorb to happen, though. Move and attack target, speed 4, accuracy 2+, damage 5. So he could do 20 damage with this one hit. That's absolutely nuts. Then after damage, target suffers knockback 10. So you can see he's basically trying to take our guys out of the fight. Even if he doesn't kill them, he's knocking them far enough away that they're going to spend at least one turn getting back to him. All right, next up we've got the Lantern Vortex. This is a trait that he starts with. At the start of each monster turn, all survivors in the Void Nexus suffer bash. Now, I have one survivor with leather armor, which makes them immune to bash, but the other 3 can all get knocked down from this Void Nexus. So you can see the Void Nexus spreads out two spaces away in all directions from the Watcher. And then after the Void Nexus, he does the basic action. Oh, wow. So he's going to start his turn with a basic action every turn. Then we've got Vapor of Nothingness. This is another trait. Whenever the Watcher collides with a survivor, the blood flow to their brain stutters for a moment. They suffer 1 brain damage and 1 damage to the head that ignores armor points. Fortunately, with that brain damage situation, we do have Accept the Darkness, so that means that we get +2 to all brain trauma rolls. So I imagine, of course, really though, severe injuries to the head are going to be more prevalent probably than brain trauma, because some of my guys have a decent amount of insanity, so we'll see. All right, now as you probably expected, he does have Indomitable. Whenever the monster attacks or is attacked, it stands at the end of that attack. The monster will not stand if a survivor is attacking a minion or another monster. If a survivor attacks during another survivor's attack, the knockdown monster will stand at the end of the new attack. So Surging doesn't get around this. Indomitable, you see that with pretty much all the level 3 monsters, and the Watcher, even though he's technically level 1, he's obviously rougher than a lot of level 3 monsters. All right, so now we've got Audience. Okay, so this is another trait. Terrified survivors spectate the battle in silence. Embolden. If there are less than 4 non-retinue survivors on the showdown board, a survivor from the settlement may depart and enter the showdown. Place them in an unoccupied space along any board edge. So you can keep, because, so his whole story is he's actually been hiding underneath the lantern horde that's in the center of our settlement. Like that's where he's been living. And so we're right in the middle of our settlement. We're not even on the outside of the settlement. We're in the middle of our settlement when we're fighting him. So additional survivors in the settlement are obviously not just going to stand by and watch if some of our guys start falling. They're going to come in and join the fight. All right, so you saw that mentioned retinue. What is retinue? So here's that. You may summon a retinue, march, double march, and coordinate attack. So summon a retinue, march, double march, and coordinate attack are all different things here. Coordinate attack. When a survivor attacks, add +6 strength to the wound attempt for each retinue adjacent to them. Okay, so this is how we can get around his massive toughness level. Full rules for retinue can be found on the Watcher Showdown story event. So let's take a look at that real quick. All right, so retinue rules. A retinue represents the settlement uniting to fight together. Each retinue occupies 9 spaces as shown. So you can see it's like this right here. A retinue cannot attack monsters directly and instead lends its strength to other survivors. A retinue is treated as a single large survivor and moves as a cohesive unit on the showdown board. Maintaining its configuration, retinues have the following rules. A retinue does not count as a threat, so don't have to worry about that. Of course, sometimes they'll just attack survivors. And cannot directly be picked or selected. Oh, it cannot. Okay, so retinue cannot be a target, period. Directly or... It cannot directly be picked or selected as a target. Okay. Only monster collision and actions that apply to all survivors can affect a retinue. Okay. A retinue has no attributes and cannot be knocked down, suffer knockback, or gain status cards. For the purpose of survivor collision, treat retinues as impassable terrain. So the retinue wouldn't necessarily take damage from one of my survivors getting thrown into it, but the survivor would. Killing a retinue. When a retinue suffers damage, including brain damage or collision with a monster, roll 1d10. On a result of 4+, the retinue is destroyed. A retinue also is destroyed when a monster ends its movement on a space it occupies or when the survivor controlling the retinue dies. Oh, I see. Okay, so each retinue is going to be assigned to a specific survivor. So if that survivor dies, then the retinue is destroyed. Okay. When a retinue is destroyed, remove it from the showdown board. The settlement suffers -4 population. The loss cannot kill the other survivors currently in the showdown. So my understanding with retinue is that when you put them out, well, here, let's finish reading it first. Using a retinue, a survivor with the retinue survivor status card can perform the following actions, which, by the way, is all 4 of my survivors. Summon retinue once per act. A survivor without a retinue may place a retinue in an unoccupied space along any board edge and move it up to 5 spaces. March. At the start of their act, a survivor with a retinue gains an additional movement that may only be spent to move their retinue up to 5 spaces. Double march. Once per round, anytime a survivor can dash, they may spend 1 survival to dash their retinue up to 5 spaces in addition to their own dash survival action. All right, so that's cool. So you move yourself and the retinue. And then and then coordinated attack, which we already read a second ago. Okay, so my understanding with this is that you're putting 9 survivors out on the board, the survivor models out on the board. When you initially put them out, you're not pulling directly from your settlement population. I believe that even if you have less than 9 survivors in the population, you can still put the retinue out. Then when a retinue dies, you subtract 4 from the population. My question is, what happens if you have less than 4 survivors in the population? Can you then summon a retinue? So these are the type of questions I'm going to make sure that I answer before I start the actual gameplay. I'll have those answers for you at the beginning of the gameplay video. Just a few questions about how retinue works in general. All right, so here we go. Let's go through the survivors. This is Briaja Force Healer. She is going to have 6 armor across the board here. You can see 14 survival right now, 17 insanity. Okay. Now we've got the leather cuirass, 3 armor, leather skirt, 3 armor, Twilight sword over here. She is now my Twilight sword wielder. And she currently has how much? Oh, wow. I forgot. She is at. She, she's brand new with the Twilight Sword. So the reason why I'm even bothering bringing it to the fight is it gains Devastating 2 when fighting the Watcher. All right, so Devastating 2 means that if I deal 1 damage to the Watcher, I deal 2 additional damage to the Watcher. So hopefully she can get in some shots with that. All right, but it's going to be tricky because it's slow, meaning she has to use her activation and her movement to use it. It's cursed, meaning she can't get rid of it. She's the only one that can use it. It's cumbersome, which let me remember. Oh, sorry. Cumbersome is the one that means she has to use movement and her activation. Slow means that even if she has additional speed naturally built into her, which she doesn't, she's at 0 speed. But even if she did have additional speed, it would still only use the 1 speed. Then we've got Sentient, meaning she has to be insane to use it. Well, insane is 3 or more insanity, so she's plenty good there. Irreplaceable, if she dies, it goes away. And like I said, Devastating 2. Moving on, she has the, looks like we're getting some problems focusing here. Hold on. All right. We've got the Leather Mask. When you depart, gain +2 insanity. All right, we already got that done. Round Leather Shield. Add 1. Actually, I'll have to check. I might not have done that yet. We'll double check that. Round Leather Shield. Add 1 to all hit locations. Okay. So far you can see 3 armor everywhere +1 because of the set that gets her to 4. The Leather Shield gets her to 5. Acanthus. When you depart, gain +2 survival. When you suffer severe injury, ignore it and archive this card instead. I love this stuff. Leather Bracers. When you depart, gain +2 survival. Leather Boots. We have the 2 green affinities attached to it. So at the end of your act, you may move 1 space. That could be very useful in getting out of the Lantern Vortex. And Monster Grease, gain +1 evasion. And there's 1, 2, 3 green affinities. So that's an additional +1 evasion. Now, so I showed you where 5 armor came from. Where's the 6th one? We got the 6th armor from Shrine here, rolled a 4 or better. So all my survivors have an additional 1 armor. All right, so you can see that the Twilight Sword right now is at its worst. If she had additional weapon proficiency, it gets much, much better as you go higher. So, but the Devastating 2 will still be absolutely brutal if we can successfully do that. I mean, that'll take, a 5th of his life every time it hits him, every time it wounds him. So, additionally, as far as attributes go, 5 movement, that's normal, but then she's got 2 accuracy, 3 strength, 5 evasion. That evasion could be very helpful. The 3 strength is going to go with the Twilight Sword's 9, so that's 12. Already, though, you can see that it's far inferior to the 25 toughness that the Watcher has. And then her only fighting art is tough. When rolling on a severe injury table, unless you roll a 1, add +1 to the result. This does not include brain trauma, but the brain trauma we know is going to be helped by Accept Darkness. All right, so next up, we're going to look at our Spear Master, Danyo. Oh, by the way, these paint jobs that you're seeing, 3 of the survivors I'm using today have these fantastic paint jobs on them. I am a okay at best painter. These are done by a very, very talented artist. He painted these 3 guys that you'll see here, plus the 4th member of this set, and then my Sunstalker as well. Lorenzo is his name, and I'll link to him in the description. These guys are painted at his lowest available level possible. So keep in mind, seeing how detailed this is, and he has several tiers above that he can do. And it's just mind-boggling, the detail on these guys. I absolutely love it. Having them on the board, I use the painted ones as often as possible just because it just really adds something to the game. And blows my mind that is his least detailed version of his paint jobs. All right, so we've got 5 armor on his head and waist, 4 on his arms, body, and legs. Honestly, I'm a little concerned about the lack of armor here. Then we've got for attributes 8 movement, so that's good. 1 accuracy, 5 strength, that's good too. 2 evasion, and 0 luck, 0 speed. Okay. He's also at 13 survival, 14 insanity. So going through, we've got the Screaming Horns. Scream. Non-deaf, insane survivors gain +1 movement until the end of the round. All other survivors gain +1 insanity. Droidecanthus, we've already covered that. Monster Grease, we've covered that. This Monster Grease is only going to be giving the +1 evasion. We don't have 3 total green affinities on this gear grid. Screaming Leg Warmers. On arrival, your feet hurt, gain +3 insanity. Screaming Bracers. On arrival, if possible, add an Acanthus Plant terrain card to the showdown. When you activate terrain, you may add +2 to your roll. All right, well, the only terrain out there is going to be the Acanthus. Finger of God. 2 strength, 5+ accuracy, 2 speed, 5+ accuracy, 5 strength. Reach 2. As long as you have 5+ survival, gain +1 accuracy and +1 strength when using this weapon. I do have 5+ survival, so this will be at 6 accuracy and 6 strength. And keep in mind, he already has 1 accuracy, so that's 7+, and then, I'm sorry, not 7, but 7 accuracy. And I'm counting accuracy backwards here, y'all. The accuracy goes down. So he'd be at 4+ accuracy, and then plus his additional 1, 3+. Like I said, it's early in the morning. But then his strength is all the way up at 7 on this. Plus he has 5 strength over here. So he's at 12 strength as well. But again, that's still 13 toughness left to overcome on the Watcher. He does have reach 2, again, helping him get out of the vortex whenever possible. Screaming Skirt. Thick protective fur protects your parts. Add +1 to severe waist injury roll results. That one's hard for me to remember sometimes. Hopefully I don't forget that, because that could be devastating. Screaming Coat. Slam. Spend movement to full move forward in a straight line. If you move 4+ spaces and stop adjacent to a monster, it suffers knockback 1 and -1 toughness until the end of the round. And then Bandages. Remove up to 2 bleeding tokens from yourself or an adjacent survivor. I don't know if the Watcher is going to be causing a lot of bleeding. Always good to have at least 1 set of bandages if possible. And he does have the full set of Screaming Armor, so you can see add 2 to all hit locations, and then Skewer. So after you slam, which remember slam is what the Screaming Coat allows to happen, spend an action, an activation to move 1 space and activate a melee weapon with +2 strength. If you wound with a spear, apply that wound roll result to the next selected hit location this attack. So basically what we've got here is he's already at 12 strength. If I were to slam, then that would be -1 toughness to the Watcher this round. It gets him down to 24, meaning I got 12 more to overcome. And then if I then use Skewer immediately after that, that's +2 strength. So that then gets him 10 more to overcome. So we're gonna have to look at getting these retinues in here, and this is really gonna be tough. I'm really a little concerned about how we're gonna manage this, but we're gonna do what we can. Also, with the mastery of the Spear Mastery, whenever a Spear Master hits a monster with a spear, they may spend 1 survival to gain the priority target token. If they made the hit from directly behind another survivor, that survivor gains a priority target token instead. All survivors gain Spear Specialization in addition to their other weapon proficiencies. So Spear Specialization, when attacking with a spear, if you draw a trap, roll 1d10 on a 7+, cancel the trap, discard it, then reshuffle the hit location discard into the hit location deck and draw a new card. So you got a decent chance of ignoring traps. And again, I have no idea what the Watcher's trap is even going to be. I'm sure it's nasty. All right, and then Daniel has several fighting arts. We've got Mammoth Hunting. Gain +1 strength when attacking from adjacent spaces outside the monster's facing and blind spot. So again, more strength. Always good against this guy. Clutch Fighter. While you have 3 or more bleeding tokens, gain +1 strength and +1 accuracy. Champion's Right. Before making an attack, you may add your understanding to your accuracy attribute for that attack. Limit once per showdown. His understanding is 6. So he could basically get a guaranteed hit as long as he doesn't roll a 1. 1s are always misses. And then he also has this disorder, anxiety. You are afraid of being afraid. You're a nervous wreck, and monsters can smell this in your scent. Oh, here we go. This is how we got priority target. At the start of each showdown, gain the priority target token unless you have stinky gear in your gear grid. I just realized he does have stinky gear. He has monster grease, so he will not be starting with the priority target token. All right, next up we've got Clackety Mace. All right, so let's see what we've got. We've got 5 armor, 5 armor on the head, 5 on the waist, and then 4 everywhere else. And 5 movement, 1 accuracy, 3 strength, 2 evasion, 2 luck. Okay, so she has the Screaming Skirt. So Screaming Skirt, Screaming Horse, Screaming Bracers, Screaming Leg Warmer, Screaming Coat. We covered all those with the last guy. All right, so now let's take a look at the arc bow. 1 speed, 6 plus accuracy, 9 strength, slow, so can't be faster than 1. Range 6 though, which is going to be really good against the Watcher. Cumbersome, so we have to spend our movement as well as the activation. And then we have, we have red, green, and blue here. So range +2, so range is actually 8. And then with the bow specialization, when attacking with a bow, you may re-roll any misses once. So the bow specialization here is actually coming from previously having a bow master. And the reason why the bow master's not out here is because I believe she got killed either in the last showdown or the one prior. So additional stuff here, we've got the Lucky Charm. We do have two of these blue affinities, so we do have +1 luck with that. Again, I don't know if that's going to do me any good, but we'll find out. And then we have the Cat Eye Circlet. Reveal the next 3 monster hit locations and put them back in any order, okay? And by the way, his monster hit location deck is pretty thick, a lot thicker than some other Nemesis hit location decks. And then the Gloom Coated Arrow. It is deadly, so you get, I'm going to get, right now I have 2 luck, so deadly would essentially mean with this arrow, 7+ on wound attempts would result in crits, assuming he has critical hit locations. After attempting to wound each hit location, place it on top of the deck instead of in the discard pile. Use once per showdown. So the cool thing with this is if I hit, you can see 6+, and she's got 1, so 5+, and I'm rolling 5 dice. If I draw 5 hit locations, none of them are the trap. Well, now what I've managed to do is I'm able to then top deck all those hit locations back on there. I know that the next 5 at least are not going to be a trap coming up. All right, and finally we've got Valentino Erroneous. Okay, so this guy, 8 armor across the board, so he's definitely our best armored. And then attributes, kind of mundane here. 5 movement. You can see he has 1 accuracy additional, but then he's got -1. I believe he may be blind. No, I can't remember how he lost that accuracy, but and then 5 strength though, so 3 + 2 there from various reasons. And we'll get to this Metal Maul. Your Fist and Tooth gains sharp, so add 1d10 to each wound attempt using this gear. This 1d10 is not a wound roll and cannot cause crits. All right, so if he were to, for some reason, need to go down to using Fist and Tooth, then he would be pretty strong doing that. Now, he only has 2 insanity. This could be a problem. He does have 14 survival. Oh, by the way, I'm not sure if I mentioned Clackety Mace, 14 survival, but only 5 insanity. So let's take a look here. This is my Lantern Armor guy. We have a full set of Lantern Armor. We'll cover all that in a second. Dradacanthus, we know about that. All right, so Lantern Armor, 5 armor to the head. Lantern Helm, I should say. Earplugs, you are deaf. -1 accuracy. Oh, that's right. That's where the -1 comes from. He's deaf, but it's been helpful. Plus, being able to get all these affinities together makes it worth it. Whistling Mace. On a perfect hit, reveal the next AI card. Place it on top or bottom of the AI deck. You can see it's 3 speed, 6+ accuracy, and then 3 strength, which means he has a total of 8 strength to start off with. Unwieldy. If any attack roll results are 1, you hit yourself and suffer 1 damage. And he does that seemingly an unusual number of times. He's a bit clumsy. Lantern Mail. 5 armor. Lantern Cuirass, 5 armor to the chest. That was the waist. -2 movement. Okay, so you'll see how we counter that here in a second. So we do have each of these affinities. See, that's how they get you to go ahead and use the lantern helm, because they know you want that affinity. I could have used this, but then I would have lost this affinity here. When you depart, add 3 to all hit locations with the metal armor. So that's pretty awesome. Lantern Gauntlets, +2 accuracy with club weapons. This is a club weapon, so I keep these here to remind me I have +2 accuracy, which is great. And Monster Tooth Necklace, gain +1 strength, and I have 2 affinities here, 2 red affinities, so I get an additional +1 strength. All right, and then here you can see we have all these affinities connected, +2 movement. So -2 movement here, +2 movement here. This armor set's really all about the affinities. If insane, okay, Crest Crown, if insane, reshuffle hit location deck by using an activation. All right, well, I'm not insane. I only have 2 insanity right now. When you depart, gain +1 insanity and +1 survival for every blue affinity you have. He was at 0 insanity when we departed, so he's at 2 now. Then over here, you feel invincible on arrival, gain survival up to the survival limit, which is 14. As you can see, all my guys pretty much are maxed out. I believe all of them are, except Daniel has 13 instead of 14. All right, and then the extra weight is great leverage. All clubs in your gear grid gain sharp. So that's gonna be very helpful. Sharp is every time you, well, we just saw it with Metal Maul, right? So he's got it for his Fist and Tooth and using the Whistling Mace. Sharp means add 1d10 strength to each wound attempt using this gear. So the strength of my wounds will vary, never below 8, but could be as high as 18. So there you go, that's our setup for the Watcher. We're gonna get right back into this almost immediately. Well, hopefully I'll be able to have the next video up in 2 or 3 days, maybe 4 days, and we'll have the gameplay video up. So be sure to keep checking back. And until next time, if you're bored online, bored offline.